Welcome to my channel, to everyone who's new here, and of course to those of you who are back again. Great to have you here. In this video we will take a look together at possible scenarios for the price development of Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP and Solana. Things remain exciting, so make sure to watch until the end. So let's just talk about Bitcoin, which just did a fake move. So we have set the RSI, broke to the upside, looks good, and we can expect higher prices. But in the end of the day, we still sold off. This can also happen. So if we go into the 50 minutes chart, we have said that this might be a rectangle. Here was the breakout. Here was the retest. But afterwards, we failed it, retested it again, and sold off. It's not a big deal. I can delete this chart pattern. This didn't work out. But what I think is, everything still looks good, even though if we break the 116,000 to the downside, then I think we should drop down to 112,000 US dollar. Like I said, it is not a big deal. It's just going to close the big fair value gap which we have right here. And afterwards, we can still expect far higher prices for Bitcoin. We have to break currently 107,820 US dollar for sure. This is going to move to the upside, because if we go into the 4-hour chart, then you can already see it in orange. You can see a rising wedge, which is a bearish chart pattern. So this price movement can happen like this. We can still expect a new all-time high, even though we have a bearish chart pattern. So far, we did nothing beside going sideways. So basically, there is not much to say about Bitcoin. If we go to Ethereum, then we had this rising wedge, which broke to the downside and got its retest. The target was right here at 3,550 US dollar. We went there. So I can take this out. We have also said that we might have a double bottom pattern right here, which also broke to the upside, got its retest, but we still sold off. So this chart pattern also didn't work. I can also take this one out. So the rising wedge worked perfectly so far. And the double bottom pattern didn't work. Anyway, if we go back into the 50 minutes chart, I have a white trend line on the chart, and this is just a speculation from my side. So once I see a 50 minutes candle over 3,617 US dollars, so we need to get a candle close. I don't want to wait for a retest. I just want to see a candle close over 3,617 US dollar. Then I would get into a small long position for Ethereum. Also keep in mind, this trend line is not based on any kind of chart pattern. This trend line is very sharp, and this trend line is on the smaller time frame. So this trend line is going to be very risky. Why am I still going to try my long position? Well, we have said, how was it? This was the rising wedge. We broke it to the downside. This here was the target. I don't see any kind of other bearish chart patterns and fair value gaps directing us into lower prices. If we go back into the 1-hour chart or 4-hour chart, then you can see the fair value gaps are down here, starting from 3,300 US dollar. This is still far away, and I doubt that we are going to close it. Not now. I think we can expect higher prices for Ethereum, and our overall target for Ethereum is the 4,400 US dollar, because we have here a chart pattern which broke to the upside, this inverted head and shoulders formatation. So the maximum extension is the 4,400 US dollar, and I still want to ride the wave up. So why shouldn't I just try my luck, get into an early long position, because it might be possible. You already see it. How often we got some dips and the price still moved to the upside, and we still get the dip and move to the upside. So Ethereum is pumping up So I want to get a good entry to scale up my position even more and more for the 4,400 US dollar. There I'm out for Ethereum completely, in my opinion. There I'm going to look for some huge short positions. So anyway, if we jump into the next coin, XRP, then you will see it worked far more better there. So if we go to XRP into the 1 hour chart, then you can also see we have said that this might be a triangle or bullish pennant, but we needed to break the $3.65 to the upside. Instead, we broke it to the downside. Breakout, retest. We have also said if the $3.36 breaks to the downside, then this was a double top pattern. The target is going to be $3.05. This target is still ongoing, but also keep in mind we have here in the RSI a bullish divergence. Means we have a higher low in the RSI and a lower low in the chart. For sure, we can still get more down. Means we can still sell off. And from here, push. This is what I think at the moment. It might be even possible that we don't reach for the fair value gap, but I personally think that the fair value gap, which we have at down to $3.05, I think with a very high chance we are going to get there over the next hours. And afterwards, I need to find a good trend line which I can trade. For Ethereum, it was very speculative. For XRP, this one looks far more better. But also, if we push now over the $3.36, then I would be in a long position right here. So I have two scenarios in mind. First one is getting over $3.36 again. Then I would get into a long position once I see a successful retest. Otherwise, I have to wait for the $3.06 and maybe I will find a better trend line to trade to get in earlier into an XRP long trade. So what about Solana? So we have said about Solana, we had a rising wedge yesterday, but this rising wedge was like this. But I've also told you that we can still make a higher high and the rising wedge is just going to change. This is what I did. So basically, if we just measure the maximum target of that rising wedge, put it to the breakout point, then you can see it is far too low in my opinion. It is far too low. That's why I would take the mid-range target, which is this one here. If we then put it to the breakout point, then you can actually see we hit the target. And we have also said if that rising wedge breaks to the downside, it's not a big deal. But once the $194 breaks to the downside, then we should see getting prices down to 185 US dollar, where we have a purple box and we have a fair value gap lower than us. So this is here a big area. So far, we wicked into that area with this candle right here. It might be possible that the correction is done. I still think that we need another lower low. And then we have to see, maybe we are going to get a higher low on the RSI and a lower low in the chart. This is going to be interesting because that would be a bullish divergence. So also here, we have to go into the 4-hour chart. Let me put out the RSI. So what do we see here? Also a nice breakout. So we can count this as an inverted head and shoulders formatation. This would work. I don't like the right part right here. I don't want to count this as a shoulder. That's why we can also say this might be also a rectangle. So everything looks good to me at the moment. Yeah, if we make this trend line a bit longer, like this, then we can also say inverted head and shoulders formatation. So basically we have so many bullish chart patterns for Solana, which broke to the upside because we needed the $184.78 breaking to the upside. We broke it to the upside And now we are just going to get the retest. And I personally love it because I love to take my trade once we get a retest. So we already got our retest by having a breakout here, getting a retest here. But it's always possible that we get a second retest or a third retest. It might be also possible, since we have a fair value gap right here, that we are going to wick lower than that, but the candle is not going to close lower than $184.78. So Solana looks very good to me, and the target is ongoing, $243 for Solana. And if I see more chart patterns, then I will also keep you informed, and we see each other in the next update where I talk about SUI, Avalanche, HBAR and Dogecoin.